She might have, well, she's supposed to.
Yeah,
We had a robust phone call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
prefer Julia, but if she isn't
Yeah.
here,
Yeah, let me just make sure she's getting on.
please.
Well, don't go too deep into the conversation.
No,
Well, I was just going to talk about you, Chris.
Well, that's fine. There's not a lot to talk about.
You're like me, Chris. We're boring.
call Julia Forge.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Charlie. Gene, she's getting on right now. Gene, Julia is on.
Okay, good evening, and we're going to begin our meeting. I'd like to make a couple of real short announcements before I ask Carlos to take the roll call. We will have, after the Pledge of Allegiance, Julia Forge, our Director of Water and Sewer, with a short report on what happened today. Also, when it comes time to vote, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand. If the vote is unanimous, the clerk can record that. If it is not unanimous, I will ask the clerk to take the roll call. So I just wanted to let you know that up front. So without further ado, can the clerk please take the roll?
Jamie Bover.
Yeah,
Lynn Underwood Segley.
yeah, here.
Elizabeth Fuerte.
Here.
Charlie Holder.
Here.
Catherine E. Leonard.
Here,
Catherine E. Leonard.
sorry.
Angela McCalla.
Here.
Jean Marie Napolitano.
Here.
We have a quorum present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
Can I ask our director to please give us a short report on Julia Forge, please, on the what had transpired this morning?
Yes, Mayor. Approximately at 11 a.m. this morning, we started receiving notifications that people had low pressure or were without water. There was also a call about water surfacing at the intersection of Gould Street and Warner Street. The crews responded and immediately started working to isolate the area of where the water was surfacing right in the middle of the intersection. In order to, the reason there was such a wide impact is that it was the 16-inch cast iron main in Warner Street, which is a transmission main. So essentially it was drawing, the water treatment plant at Station 1 also had water dropping in the tank on Reservoir Road as all the demand was coming out at the break. The crews worked to get to isolate it by operating valves. Some of the valves were difficult to operate and they had to expand the shutdown because of the amount of water. When they finally was able to get a shutdown, the area that was left with, that was off without water was Warner Street between Gould and Bayview. Subsequently, I've been in contact with Joe Roque, the supervisor, who the crews are still out there. They have now, they did get water back. They were able to isolate the break even more to just strictly in the intersection. What they've found now is they have found the break. There is about a 6-foot section of the 16-inch cast iron pipe that's split along the bottom. They're working now to cut out that and to replace it and make the permanent repair. In addition, a storm drain was blown out. And so they're replacing the storm drain too there at that intersection. So shortly, once they're going to have to do another shutdown, but again, it's just going to be that section of Warner from Gould to Bayview, and the crews are in contact with the residents that are impacted by that. Because of the drop in pressure throughout the Newport system is made up of 3 pressure zones, and each pressure zone is regulated by a water storage tank. Approximately all of Newport, but not all of it. There's a section north of Admiral Califas that is in the medium pressure zone. The low pressure zones tank that regulates the pressure in the system is the Reservoir Road storage tank in Middletown. So that's what maintains the pressure, and it's the pressure zones are by the tanks. The medium pressure zone they're regulated. The pressure is maintained by the 2 water storage tanks located in Portsmouth at the Lawton Valley tank. The high pressure zone, we have a water storage tank on Goulart Lane in Portsmouth that controls that pressure zone. So the only areas impacted that had the pressure drop was the low pressure zone. Because there was that drop in pressure, out of an abundance of caution, because of the pressure drop, there is always the potential that there could be some bacteria or contamination. That is the reason for the precautionary boil water advisory. During this, while we were still trying to shut down to isolate the water, the actual break, we were also at the treatment plants. We ramped up the production at Station 1 because of the tank dropping, plus we were bringing water in from Portsmouth. We also increased the chlorine as it was leaving the plant to further prevent any issues from occurring. Since then, we've taken samples at approximately 6 locations throughout the low pressure zone. Those samples were taken around between 3:30 and 4 p.m. They are now being incubated to be analyzed for presence of bacteria. Those samples, we won't have the results for 24 hours. We're very hopeful by this time tomorrow, the boil water advisory will be lifted. Again, it's just, there is, you know, the state has had some boil water orders. Those were mandatory because there was evidence of bacteria in the system. This is precautionary because there is the potential because of the pressure drop. So I just wanted to clarify that. But out of an abundance of caution, we've issued the advisory. We're in contact with the Department of Health, and now we're waiting for our samples to come back, which will, again, we'll be back this time tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Thank you, Julia. Is there any questions from the council?
No, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone who has signed up for the Citizens Forum?
No, Madam Chair, no one has signed up for the Citizens Forum.
Okay. All right, then we'll go to the first order of business.
Public hearing, capital improvement program fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2026.
Okay, this is a public hearing on our capital improvement plan. I also will tell you that we're going to have a workshop on it on March 2nd. Is that correct? Do I have at 5 o'clock?
That's correct.
Okay, so that anybody that would like to peruse through the peruse through the capital improvement plan, we do have it online, I believe. It's also at the library. And certainly you can participate at that meeting. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the capital improvement? Okay. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second, so moved.
Second.
There's a motion. Yes. I see hands raised now.
Yeah.
Councilor Boga, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually had a question for the city manager regarding the workshop. So I know that it's scheduled on March 2nd, and I know that we typically have 2 public hearings on the CIP. Is the second public hearing still scheduled to be the second meeting in February? Because I was just thinking, you know, if we have the workshop after we already approved the CIP, it seems I would prefer if we were able to have the workshop prior to that. So are we able to have the approval vote on the CIP be in the first meeting in March?
You're not approving anything this evening.
Right.
There's
I know
no
we're not
resolution. Okay, just let me finish for a moment. So there's nothing being approved this evening. The next code, and so the March 2nd, the next, and of course the capital and the CIP is our own planning document that you'll use. Maybe you won't use it between now and when we adopt the budget. Tonight is just the one public hearing and then the workshop. And then we will at some time, and I think we might have planned for next meeting, have the resolution on in which you adopt the capital improvement in concept. The resolution just says in concept. And so our next meeting is, whenever, I'm sorry?
The next
When's
meeting
the
is
next
the 24th, and that's what's listed in the CIP as the second public hearing. And my question is if that can be after we have the workshop.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to matter. Sure. Sure. I mean, why not? As long as we get it approved by April, that's
I think the idea was
one of the
that
charter.
they tried to have an earlier, and some council members couldn't attend the earlier. Therefore, she planned it for the earliest date she could in March, and we'll hear it in the first meeting of March.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. There's a motion, a second to close.
I have my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Kate, yes.
Okay, I just want the public to know, this is really a conceptual capital improvement budget. And these are elements that staff and the city administration put into this package for us to review and so forth. But until the items come up to be funded in a regular council meeting, it doesn't mean that these things will be funded and will happen. A lot of it's going to depend on financials, revenues, and what we're going through at the present time. So of course, we all see things in there that we say, wait a minute, $800,000 for a slide. It doesn't mean the slide's going to happen, for example. It means that to be approved, they would need funding. So I think people are not really aware of how the process works.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
correct, Kate. It's Joe Nicholson. I just want to be clear. There is not $800,000 in the CIP per slide. I just want people to get the wrong impression.
Okay,
It's 200 or 500. 500 it is.
That's not accurate either, but
Well, it's in there. I'll tell you the page.
no, it's $50,000 as seed money as a placeholder, so we can talk about the Murphy,
Right.
the Murphy Field slide. That's a far
Not
far
that
cry
the
from
status
$500,000. Right.
That's the
But we
cost
get to talk
if we
about
were
it.
to do it.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's what I'm getting at.
okay, thank you. So again, the workshop will be March 2nd, and I'd like to invite the public to take a look at it. It's on our website. It's also, I believe there's a copy of the CIP down at the library if you choose to go through it. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to participate March 2nd or call council members and ask your questions. Okay, now we have a motion on the floor to close the public hearing. And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Aye.
Okay. Wait a minute, I gotta put it on gallery again, I guess.
The vote's unanimous, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item.
The consent calendar.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent calendar in its entirety.
Is there a second?
Wait a
Second.
minute.
There's a motion, a second by Councilor Holder. Discussion?
I have my hand up.
Yes, Councilor Leonard.
I would just like to make this public statement. In September, and I think the date was around September 9th, there was a barge off of Ocean Drive with fireworks, and the company was Ocean State Pyrotechnics. And I don't know which company is for this fireworks display, but on that date, the fire department, the police department, and I don't know how many counselors received phone calls that their houses were shaking and it was the worst they'd ever seen. And just to make sure that that would not happen again, I'm going to suggest that those in the city who communicate, if that's the same company, and I don't know it is, that they're made aware that there are certain stipulations for health and public safety. And that was probably the most complaints for fireworks that anybody had had, but the fire chief and the police chief should be well aware of that, what happened that date, because there were lots of calls. including to Joe Nicholson.
Okay, thank you. And we do have the fire chief online, so I'm sure he's going to be checking it out. Thank you. Councilor McCullough?
Hi, my memory is a little fuzzy, and I'm gonna ask our solicitor, Bean. My question is, what's the ordinance in regards to the time in which fireworks can be, I guess, done?
Off the top of my head, without looking at the ordinance, it's under the special events license. Maybe the clerk can also answer this, but I think the 9 o'clock to 9:36 p.m. is within the parameters of the ordinance. But I can check on that for you. I just can't off the top of my head right now tell you that.
So, all right, so what do we do here? Because I just want to make sure that, you know, I'm following the rules, and I feel like I feel like 9:30 is like almost kind of late for folks. But I don't remember. So
Yes, Councilor Leonard, do you know I thought it was 10 o'clock.
It's 9.
No, I
It's
think
9.
we had it. We had changed it. Justin McLaughlin had talked about it several times.
Okay.
We had changed it where when it gets dark, and we discussed
Yeah, so
ad
I have the
nauseam
ordinance in front of
when it
me.
gets dark.
It says no private
It's
fireworks display shall start later than 1 hour after sunset or 9 p.m., whichever is later.
I'll start.
Okay, and this is July 3rd. So
Probably later.
I suppose we could approve this with the stipulation that they have to do it within the time frame of the ordinance.
And I just want to caution, I don't have a problem with approving this, but be prepared that there will be many more to come asking for extensions, and I'm not really sure
You're right.
how we're going to.
I'm not asking for an extension. I'm saying they have to do it within the time frame listed on the ordinance.
I think if you recall, I think we limited in the special events license with an amendment last year, the amount of private fireworks displays that could occur in the year. And again, Jamie, I don't know if you have the ordinance up, but I think
I have it, and
maybe
it's no more than 8 in a calendar year. And I also looked up the sunset, and it's 8/22 is when the sunset is supposed to be on July 3rd. So they would have to pull it up because 9:30 is too late.
Yep. When is sunset?
8/22.
Yeah, that is the day before the 4th of July. I'm just wondering, you know, sometimes it still is pretty light. Do you want to continue this item until we can get all our answers?
I think it would be better to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they may.
Councilor Holder, please.
Yeah, just a quick question. What happens if they decide to, them or anybody else decides to shoot them off at 9:30, 9:40? What's the, is there a fine involved or?
They're asking for a display, it's not an individual. They're actually going to do, I guess, a professional pyrotechnic firework program.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, what if they were to do it at 9:30, even though the ordinance says 9 o'clock? What's the repercussions?
Nothing.
They could be fined. They
yeah.
could be taken to court.
Madam Chair?
Wait a minute. They could be cited, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
They also, I think Bailey's Beach has these events every year. And I believe, you know, they also, when they are seeking other permits from the city, including for future fireworks, could be certainly any violations could be addressed also at that time.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Bova?
I just wanted to add, it's up to $1,000 is what it says in the ordinance.
Thank you.
So a motion to continue this item?
Yeah, I think we've got to make them aware of the rules, and maybe Carlos, you can do that. Make them aware of what the rules are, and if, you
Yeah,
know,
we'll follow up tomorrow.
okay, thanks so much. Okay.
One more thing real quick on, so I'm just looking at their application, and below where it says where the fireworks begin, there's a note that says that fireworks are to begin or end after 10 p.m. But sound must be obtained. So if the ordinance says they can't have it after 9 o'clock, why is this note even on the application?
Begin or end after 10 p.m. That's what I was thinking, that it was 10 on a holiday night.
To start at 9:30.
Yeah,
Too
and
late.
it's a 6-minute display, right? Yep, it's a 6-minute display.
Yeah, six minutes. People with little kids get mad.
Well, why don't we,
I would suggest, Madam Chair, that you do continue it, and we'll straighten this all out and make sure that they're in conformity with the ordinance.
okay, thank you. All right, there's a motion and a second to continue. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous. All right.
So now we have to approve the holiday selling license for JT Relief LLC, doing business as Relief Center, 111 Swinburne Row.
Are you making a motion?
Yes, motion to approve, sorry.
Second. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any against? No. The ayes have it. Next item.
Licenses and permits, mobile food establishment for the food trucks renewals. 1899 LLC, doing business as La Costa Lobster and Tacos, 186 Bellevue Ave, Newport, Rhode Island.
Madam Chair, I move that we continue this item.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to continue. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Amano LLC, doing business as Amano Pizza and Gelato, 181 Bellevue Ave, number 315, Newport, Rhode Island.
Motion to continue.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to continue. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Mobile food establishment, mobile food carts, renewal, Wally's Hot Dog Cart LLC, doing business as Wally's Hot Dog Cart, 252 Oliphant Lane, Middletown, Rhode Island.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we continue this item.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Councilor Bova.
Thank you. There have been a few hands that came up from the audience, and I just wanted to call your attention to them. I know.
But if we're continuing it, you know, we've got to get this decision made first, okay?
Well, I just say because one of them is an attorney who might be representing one of the applicants. That's why I brought it up specifically. So I don't know if he wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, not at this time. Mr. Holder?
Yeah, so on the food cart. Just curious, isn't this to be different than the food truck ordinance? So I just want to see, I'm wondering why we're continuing the food cart license renewal. They have separate,
Yeah.
parameters from trucks,
Right.
so.
Right.
Let's look at the changes.
I don't think there's any changes on the food cart.
They're only allowed in certain parks
Right.
around the city.
Let's,
Counselor Segley, would you like to?
I'll strike that motion and motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Discussion? Here, yes, Counselor Leonard.
just to be clear, if we are going to approve and do the food cart, I would like the solicitor to just weigh in and summarize exactly what's allowed for the food carts, because I'm looking here for, let me find it. Let's see, restrictions, let's see. What's the food trucks? I had it all highlighted.
It's,
I guess what I'd like to know is, yeah, I've got it in front of me. Where are the parameters of where they can operate? And I think that's what's important for this, and the hours and the days, and were there any changes? It doesn't look like it, but at least the public knows.
for the food cart.
Yes, please.
So that's ordinance 5.57.040 subsection D. They are allowed on the sidewalks adjacent to the following locations, as long as they allow for 6 feet of passage on the sidewalk next to Eisenhower Park, Parati Park, King Park, Myantinomi Park, and the sidewalks adjacent to Community College of Rhode Island. And that's for the hours between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. And there is no proposed change to that ordinance on the agenda tonight.
Okay, so I'm sorry, one more time. Eisenhower Park, King Park,
Parati Park,
Parati.
Myantinomi Park,
Never
Okay,
knew they were gonna do it.
and Community College of Rhode Island.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item,
A resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation school refunding bonds of the city of Newport to refund the city's general obligation bonds issued to the Rhode Island Health and Educational Building Corporation and the city's general obligation bond dated June 20th, 2013, issued for school purposes. And also a memorandum from Laura L. Citrin, Director of Finance, regarding the Pell School refunding bonds.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve, and then I will read the memorandum after we have a motion to approve.
is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay,
All right, this has to do with a memorandum that we received from Laura Citrin, Director of Finance, concerning the Pell School refunding bonds, and I will read the memorandum. The attached bond resolution was prepared by the city's bond council. This resolution would allow the city to refund, or essentially refinance, the remaining balance of the original Pell School bonds issued by the city in 2013. The bond interest rate would drop from an average of 4.4% to approximately 1.73% for a total savings over the life of the remaining bond of $1.8 million. The savings would be split between the city's share of 56%, which is $1,042,000, and RIDE's share of 44%. We would structure the refunding bond so that the savings would be in the beginning of the amortization. This means that we would see savings of approximately $1.1 million in fiscal year 2022. This impacts the fiscal year 2022 budget by reducing budgeted debt service costs by the amount of savings. As with all resolutions, this language is prepared by the city's bond counsel, Karen S.D. Grand of Locklord. It meets the prescribed legal format and should not be changed.
Hey, any discussion? Yes, Counselor Leonard, and then McCalla.
I have a question. It's a democracy, and in the referendum, the majority of people voted for the school bonds for both Pell and for Rogers. But my question is this: in the memorandum, the bond interest rate would drop from an average of 4.4% to approximately 1.73%, or a total savings over the life of the remaining bonds of 1.8%. That's good news. My question is, for how long? What would be the remaining time or life of the bond? Because that's
Laura,
the
can you answer that
that's the
question, please?
refi number.
Laura Citrin is on the line. She'll have to unmute herself and she'll answer the question.
I had to look it up first. There's approximately 12 years left on the life of the bonds.
Okay. All right, that's not a big amount of money compared to the 106 million that we're talking about for the whole new school for Rogers, but that's good that it's 12 years. So we refinance that amount for 12 years. And then at the time or the phases of Rogers being built, it's my understanding that the city would take out the bonds as needed and they would pay in, I would assume, stages of being built a certain amount, but we don't get reimbursed, correct, until the building is actually finished.
That's correct, Kate. Actually, the school bonds for the 106,000 that was approved,
106
those
million.
are actually going to 106 million. Yes, sorry. Those are actually going to be on the next docket because you have to formalize the bond resolution. The plan right now is to borrow about 4.7 million from now until the end of this year, calendar year 21. Then we would issue bands again for another 12 months, and then we will probably do one bond issue, which will carry us through until both projects are complete. At which point, once they're complete and RIDE approves, that's when we would get the final reimbursement amount that RIDE will allow.
And that's at that time we'll be told when complete whether we'd be getting reimbursement for 35% or 52%.
We're automatically going to get 35% under any circumstance.
Yeah. And the 52% would come only after RIDE approved it with the state, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Counselor McCalla, did you have a question?
Yes, I actually wanted to thank Counselor Leonard for that nice breakdown, because I was going to say for everyone, like, so Lynn, you did, Counselor Segley, you did a great job just kind of reiterating what was on the memo, but to some of us who may not necessarily always understand that type of jargon, I thought Counselor Leonard did a good job, so thank you. And also, I guess my other question is, how far away are we for paying off Thompson's bond?
I'm sorry, paying off what?
Thompson?
Oh,
There's about 4 years left, I believe. Maybe not quite. I'd have to look it up, but it's certainly under 5 years.
Okay, I just was asking just generally. Thank you very much.
And I just would like to thank our finance director, Laura Citron, because through the years, she has periodically gone through our different bonds and has managed to pull it out of the hat. So I'm just very happy that you did that you have saved us some money, and certainly we can use it
yes.
this time. So thank you. Okay, let's see. So the motion is there any other questions? Hearing none.
Madam Chair, I've had my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see it because it's in the, yeah.
Oh,
Go-
I gotta have a better high contrast background, sorry. I just wanted to actually reiterate what you said about thanking Laura Citron, because not only is this great that we get that additional funding back into the budget, but the memo that you wrote, I only had to read it once to understand what was happening. So that was very helpful, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from the council? Okay, hearing none, we have the resolution to authorize it. All in favor? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Any opposed? Raise your right hand. I'm sorry. Any opposed? Please raise your right. No. Let's take the vote again. All in favor of the resolution to refund these bonds, please raise your right hand. Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. All right, next item.
An ordinance amending chapter 14.04 entitled Comprehensive Plan, section 14.04.010 entitled Comprehensive Planning and Land Use Act. Second reading.
Madam Chair, this is a second reading. I'd like to make a motion to approve in order to discuss it on the floor.
Is there a
Second.
There's a motion and second to discuss it on the floor? Yes, go ahead.
Okay. This is an ordinance amending chapter 14.04 entitled Comprehensive Plan, entitled Comprehensive Planning and Land Use Act. And I will read the ad in lieu of. The comprehensive plan of the city of Newport, Rhode Island is duly adopted and updated from time to time, and as most recently updated and approved by the City Council on February the 8th, 2017, and amended on January 27th, 2021, is hereby incorporated by reference in its entirety. The comprehensive plan shall take effect for the purpose of conforming municipal land use decisions and for the purpose of being transmitted to the Rhode Island Director of Administration for state review upon public hearing and passage. The comprehensive plan and any amendments thereto shall not become effective for the purpose of guiding state agency actions until it is approved by the state of Rhode Island pursuant to chapter 45-22.2 of the general laws of Rhode Island. And section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage, and all ordinances or parts of ordinances inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. So essentially we are amending this is a second reading to amend the comprehensive plan to include the North End urban plan.
Okay, is there any discussion? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, are we ready to vote? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? The ayes have it. It was unanimous. Okay, next item.
An ordinance amending chapter 5.57 entitled Mobile Food Establishments, section 5.57.040 entitled Restrictions on Permit, first reading.
Madam Chair, I move that we continue this item.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second to continue discussion. Yes, Councilor Bova.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to let the council and the public know I had reached out to the Chamber of Commerce, and they're going to be discussing it in their hospitality subcommittee tomorrow. And so that will be able to give us some good info from all of the businesses and restaurants and food trucks. And I think that will be helpful information.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Councilor McCallum.
Again, recalling from memory, did we not say that we were supposed to do a meeting with all of the mobile food trucks to kind of figure out, you know, how did we do, and is there instances where we could capitalize on more improvement? Like, I know that the Chamber of Commerce may be doing that, and I thank you, Councilor Bova, but I do remember us talking about having a follow-up conversation to the ordinances and meeting in specific with mobile food truck owners.
The only thing I recall is having a conversation about potentially changing areas of location of food trucks. And that's why, you know, it's coming up now. And that was last spring. We didn't change it midstream because we wanted them to at least be able to get through the summer. And if you recall, we were experiencing the beginning of COVID last summer. So it only seemed fair. But at this point, I don't recall saying we would meet with all the food truck owners. I don't know.
I feel like if we're going under revision for one particular ordinance or one particular section, shouldn't we have an open conversation? Because maybe we're missing more than one, and I'd rather just hit it all at one time.
It's continued. We will have the open discussion. And
okay. So I wanted to make sure. Okay, I didn't understand that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Councilor Leonard.
I was reminded today by people that we have spent approximately 32 hours discussing mobile trucks and carts. And I think we went through this several times. And last spring, you're right, Mayor, Councilor McLaughlin, and I can't remember who else, asked that what we had in effect at the time could be continued to the end of the licensing cycle, which is in March. And that's why we extended that privilege to have it in the places before these amendments came on to us. So I too do not remember going forward and asking for more meetings to reignite the discussion. The discussions ended out to where we are today with the amendments.
So we'll be discussing this next meeting, if in fact that's the vote. Councilor Fuertes?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I do appreciate that it's being continued. It will help us, especially for me being new, to hear those conversations, as I was not part of the original conversations that took place previously. And I would welcome, you know, the current owners of the mobile food truck to give us at least the feedback of how is it going. I think we need to know, and invite, you know, our citizens to weigh in as well at our meeting, so that way we can make a decision based on hearing everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Bova?
Thank you. I recognize that, in the discussion on continuing this item, you may not want to hear from members of the audience. So I would just like to ask members of the audience who do have their hands up, excuse me, who do have their hands up to, if they would want to email the council to make sure that we are still able to hear from you and get your feedback.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So the motion is to continue this item until next meeting. There's a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Unanimous. Next item.
Communications from the city manager, action item 5956, 21, regarding special detail rates with accompanying ordinance.
Yes, Madam Chair and Council, this is a recommendation from the city manager. He recommends that the city council approve the increase of the special detail rate to $60.25 per hour, effective March 1st, 2021, and that the rate increase automatically by the amount of any increase in cost of living adjustments granted in any Fraternal Order of Police collective bargaining agreement approved and duly authorized by the City Council subsequent to July 1st, 2021. Under fiscal impact, it notes that the fiscal impact will be to increase the special detail revenue for administrative costs from 3.8% to 15% and allow the city to bill sufficient funds to cover and pay required to cover the pay required by collective bargaining agreements. I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Councilor Leonard?
A quick question here. This was brought up at the last meeting where we talked about several aspects of details. And so my question is, I know it had to do with collective bargaining for police and fire. So my question is, what is the rate for fire and what is the rate for police, so that anybody hiring details will know what if there's a difference? It looks like here, and I'm not totally sure, that the rate is the same, but I would like to substantiate that.
Is Laura Citron still on the,
Yes, Laura, why don't you go ahead, Laura? They are the same.
Yes.
Right.
Right. The current ordinance says that it's $55 per hour for both police and fire.
Okay, and can I just add something here? And this would be for any organization or any group or any private construction company looking to hire details?
There are one or two exceptions where we actually have contracts with the organization, like Rhode Island Department of Transportation. I believe that in the event, when we have a large event, such as an ocean race or things related to the Folk and Jazz Festival, that there are separate agreements and contracts with that. But as a rule, yes, we bill everybody the same rate.
And what's the rate, for example, ocean race or folk and jazz?
I can't answer that because it's based on the sheer number of hours. I mean, it's huge. Maybe
I just like to see everybody treated the same. Thank you. Thanks, Laura.
Well, it's Joe Nicholson, city manager. I can assure you it's not less.
All right.
You know, sure.
thank you. Is there any other questions? Yes, Councilor Forte.
So, and I hear you, Joe, but is there, and I just think about those entities or community events that might fall into hardship in paying these fees. So is there something that the city does to help Just communities, not big groups. It's not like the folk festival or things like that. But when they apply, they're told that they need police detail for even small groups. So I just want to get.
Well, I can answer that. I mean, and the veterans, if you will, on the council are familiar with this, certainly, and that on occasion, groups that would posit that they can't afford the respective detail pay have request the council, and the council generally passes it off to the city administration to consider waiving the fee, if you will. Or in some instances, we do subsidize the detail obligation. To one particular, it comes to mind, and that's the Broadway Street Fair. The Broadway Street Fair is run by the Broadway merchants, and we have accepted less than what the accrued detail rate would come out to be, because we know that it's a tough route for them to come up with the full amount. When we talk about waiving the fees, if you will, there's no such thing as really waiving the fees. What someone is really asking for is for the city to assume the cost, because we still incur the cost. We still have to pay the detail officers, be it fire or police. However, with that said, generally and on rare occasions, we do assume the costs and we do compromise the costs, but it's handled on a case-by-case basis, as the council well knows. And it's been handled that way historically. But again, we still have to make the full payments at worst. So it's really an assumption of the obligation by the city as opposed to waiving any cost. But we've done it, and we've done it. I can think of 2 or 3 other examples as well. So that's how we've handled it in the past. We are very sympathetic, and I know the council in the past has been sympathetic to smaller organizations that that need a detail but don't have the wherewithal to make the full payment. I wouldn't say it's. I would say it's on a rare occasion that the request is made, but we take every request seriously, and at times we do subsidize the respective organization or event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor McCallum, you have your hand raised.
Yep. I want to thank you, Joe, for clarifying that. And then also, to express and echo Councilor Leonard as well as Councilor Fuerte. I too share in the concern. I mean, I think that there's a big difference between, an entity such as the Volvo race and something like, I don't know, a smaller business, a person who probably operates their business of one and, maybe trying to do something for the community and might not be able to. Like the funding may not be the same. So I'm glad to hear that the city is flexible with that. So thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to vote on this issue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? The ayes have it. It's unanimous. Thank you. Next item.
Action item 5957.
Yes, Madam Chair, Council, this is a recommendation from the city manager. The Department of Public Services recommends approval of a 1-year agreement, including 2 additional 1-year option years with Island Elements Incorporated of Middletown, Rhode Island, for the lease of retail space at Easton's Beach. And there is no fiscal impact on this item. I move to approve.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Is there anybody on the council that would like to discuss this matter? Hearing none. Are we ready to vote? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adjourn as council and convene as Board of License Commissioners.
Second.
There's a motion and second to convene as licensed commissioners. Before, no, I'll go ahead and take the vote for this.
Yeah.
To convene. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous. I just want to say, prior to any kind of discussion, the city solicitor had indicated that he wanted to speak on behalf of these licenses and permits. So at this time, if Chris Bean, our city solicitor, could please update the council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I expected that the council would, for these items, ask for the recommendation from my office. And first of all, one of them will be dismissed. The Salvation Cafe is in compliance and picked up the license. The other three, it's going to be the same recommendation that we continue it to March 24th, the March 24th meeting, since all of the license holders have been cooperative, responsive, and are working on the items that they need for clearance. So I don't know if you want to take it individually or in terms of a vote on these matters.
Okay, so what you're saying, items number 1, 3, and 4 should be continued as they're complying and trying to bring everything up to date.
Correct. And item 2, we will dismiss. In other words, they're in full compliance and have picked up the license.
Okay.
Mr. Bean, do we need to make a motion to dismiss or?
Yeah, why don't you?
Okay.
I mean, just so it'll be clear for the record that that's what happened.
I make a motion that we just dismiss the show cause hearing for Salvation Cafe Incorporated.
Second.
There's a motion and a second discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous.
Okay, make a motion that we continue the show cause hearings for Mermaids Newport LLC, the Protective Club, doing business as a Protective Club, and for the Pyramid Club, doing business as a Pyramid Club. I make a motion to continue to the March 24th meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. This meeting has adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night, everyone.
Night, thanks.
Chris.